But he was like, she was being pretty mean. And then he said, she told me that she's pregnant, and she told me that the kid is not mine. That is what he told me. That is what he told me.
So she's pregnant, the kid's not mine.
And that she's...
Like he's playing it, he didn't know she was pregnant?
Yep.
Until that morning.
Yep.
And that it's not, she had an affair with somebody else.
Yes, and this is before I knew she was 15 weeks pregnant.
Okay.
Like, all the stuff on Monday that I read from my recollection, because I didn't find out she was pregnant until Tuesday. So anything that got posted on Monday did not emphasize the fact that she, like, had a baby on board.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. In this episode, we're going to look at some startling revelations. It's really the moment where Chris Watts tells Nicole Kessinger what they spoke about, what he and Shanann supposedly spoke about on the morning of August 13th. Now, I've always maintained that that conversation never ever happened, that he needed that conversation to take place in order for Shanann in order for there to be a premise for Shanann to leave. And the crime took place because he couldn't have that conversation. But in another manner of speaking, Shanann left, Shanann disappeared because of what was said during that conversation. Now, the thing that is really interesting is how Kessinger describes that conversation and how the way that Chris Watts explained to her what the conversation was about differs materially from what Chris Watts said to the police. So in this audio, which seems very ordinary and insignificant at face value, in the beginning you're going to be listening, wondering, well, is this going anywhere? And it is, but you need to sort of pay attention. It does seem to ramble at times. Nicole Kessinger reveals when and how Watts told her that Shanann was pregnant. Everyone has their opinion of this, but it's worth getting Kessinger's version on the topic and examining it. Now, as I say, unfortunately, Kessinger's version is fairly confused and she often loses her train of thought. And at one point, she describes her brain as mashed potato because she's so tired. Now, we might be critical of that. We might say, you're not really confused, you are this or that. But there's a seminal moment later on. It's not actually included in this audio. I will include it in a subsequent audio where she says Watts had told told her that Shanann had left her wedding ring by the bedside and what should he do with it. And Kessinger then rang off and then tossed and turned for quite a while and then couldn't get back to sleep. And then eventually, some hours later, she called him, I think, and was gobsmacked that while she couldn't sleep, he was sleeping soundly. She even said to him, how on earth can you sleep with your family missing? You know, even with his family still missing, he was having a good old snooze. Now, in Kessinger's version of the story, it all starts at around 3:45 p.m. on Monday. In other words, she starts to get an inkling that something is really not right. And when I say inkling, I mean she's starting to get a sense that something is going on that's not normal. This is according to her version of the story. And it all starts when she gets a text from Watts with two short words in it, call me. But at that time, she has a visitor, Jim. So at the same time that she needs to, looking from the outside in, looking from with the benefit of hindsight, she really needs to concentrate and keep tabs on him and pay attention to what he's saying and figure out what's going on. She's kind of distracted because she also has a companion in her home. The other thing that I think is interesting is that Watts seemed to know Jim would be there, not just that day, but the next day, which is why they had a fixed arrangement to go find a place for him on the Wednesday. The other thing is that would give him the opportunity to commit these foul deeds while he knew where she would be. So as I said, it's possible in the confluence of what is going on, because he knew Kessinger would be home with her guest, would be preoccupied, he'd be free to take care of things. It wouldn't be a case of her saying, I'm coming over, or should we do something, or calling him at kind of inconvenient times, she would sort of be preoccupied with somebody else. That is in the aftermath of Monday morning, Monday afternoon, going into Tuesday. And who knows, maybe he figured by Wednesday he'd be in the clear, things would be sorted out by then, the storm would have passed, and because Shanann and the kids had been away for weeks, if they simply disappeared again, no one would care, no one would ask. And, since he'd deactivated his Facebook, all he had to do was spin a half-credible story to whoever asked, and then that would be it. She came, she left, I don't know where she went, and where she went would be everyone else's problem. And then he could get on with what he wanted to get on with. In any event, this is how Kessinger sketches it. Once again, I'm going to provide you with a transcript. But if you're finding this analysis interesting, obviously we're highlighting segments of this really long interview to get a better understanding, hopefully, of what we thought we already knew. If you're finding that interesting and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started.
And so, but he says, call me like it's like an emergency, but then just says that they're not there. And so I'm like really like floored by that. Well, not like floored, but just kind of like, he says, call me, so I'm concerned. And then he's really vague, so I'm like, maybe he just wants to talk to me? I don't know. I think it took me a little while to like really process the severity of the situation, just because this is not something that you expect to see every day. And the way that he talked to me made me believe that this is not what was going on at all.
Okay, so you make a phone call to him and you guys have a conversation.
I did. I stepped outside.
This is 3:45.
Ish. I mean, well, like, I think I actually interacted with Jim for, like, probably a good 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, he's my guest. He's in my house. So I don't think I called him right away. But, like, I mean, I'm trying to balance the fact that I have my friend here, and then Chris is saying that something needs to be addressed. But to me, it didn't sound like an emergency. I mean, it's all the time. Like, people aren't home right now. So it just... It wasn't like, oh my God, I have to take this call.
It didn't register as being critical.
No. I mean, it was the way he said it. And I was like, okay. So I remember hanging out with Jim for a while, and then I stepped outside, and I made a call, like, out on my back patio. And I called him. And he didn't answer the phone. And then he texted me back. Or no. Did he answer the phone? I don't remember. I think he missed my call, and then he called me back. Or he just answered. Either way, it was a very short talk to him where he was just like, I have to go. The cops are here. And I don't remember if he said that on the phone or over text.
That's
I don't
okay.
I'm so tired.
That's fine. You don't
But
need
either
the
way,
different,
like,
it's
the
just
cops,
the context.
Yeah, I mean, you guys will figure it out. The cops are here. And I'm just like, all right. And then I remember we were we were texting, but I was like hanging out with my company, so it wasn't like a nonstop text. It was just kind of like I would check my phone every once in a while, and we would communicate with each other. And he was just saying like they weren't there, and that her friend Nikki was there, and that her friend Nikki had called the cops. And I'm like, why would this girl call the cops? And like, I honestly do not remember the order of operations on all of this, but I'm pretty sure the majority of our conversation that night until my friend Jim left the house, which was probably pretty late, I don't even know what time, like 9 or 10, was all via text. So you should have this via text. Like,
Okay.
I don't think we started talking again on the phone until, like, after my company left. And he was like, I don't know, he just started, like, giving me details about stuff, and I don't remember what order, but he was saying, like, Nikki was really upset, and that the cops were there, and that they were, like, searching the house, and I was just like, what? Like, what? Why? And he was telling me that, they had, like, had a disagreement or something like that, and then, he told me, like, she was gonna go to a friend's house, and I was like, okay, well, maybe she left, maybe she just, like, went to her friends. And then I think I don't remember, but I think he was the one that told me that her cell phone and her purse were still there. I think he told me that.
He told you her cell phone and purse were still there?
I think he did. I don't remember.
What's the significance of that in your mind at that time?
At that point, I thought this woman was really trying to get out of this house.
Okay.
That's what I thought, because he said that they'd had a disagreement, and I was just like, okay, well, I mean, I leave my cell phone at
When
home.
he said disagreement, what did he tell you what it was about, or?
Not at that point. Not at that point. So, again, like, you guys are going to have to check these texts, because it's all, like, my brain feels
That's
like
okay.
a mashed potato right now. But I remember him saying that, and I'm just thinking, like, well, maybe she was in a rush, you know? Like, maybe she was just like, I'm going to my friends. I'm leaving my cell phone here because I don't want you calling me. I don't want anyone else calling me. I mean, there are days where, like, when I'm outside of work, I will just shut my phone off. I just do it, and it's, like, my way of getting peace. So to me, that, I mean, like, it was weird that it wasn't even that weird to me that she left her phone just because I leave my phone, but it was weird to me that she left her purse. But knowing the fact that that girl was, like, always on her phone, then, yeah, I guess that is kind of odd.
Like, she lived on her phone, I think,
yeah.
pretty much, is my understanding of her and a phone. So, I don't know if you knew that
I did.
until prior to the media stuff, or just from Chris.
I did.
So, did that strike you as odd? But you're thinking maybe she just left.
I just thought she needed to, like, get away from the situation. I mean, that didn't seem that awkward to me, that a couple that is going through a separation would be like, I need to leave. I just need some space. Like, it didn't even, like, process. I was like, okay, like, give her some space, you know? And on that note, too, when he was in, we're going to jump back for just a second.
It's okay.
I had a thought. So when he was coming back from North Carolina, that was when he officially told me we're going to get a divorce and we're going to put the house up for sale. Like, he told me they were separating and they were, like, going to put the house up for sale, but they hadn't done it yet. And then when he got back from North Carolina, that was when he was like, it was like a sealed deal.
Okay.
And the reason that is of significance is because at some point over the weekend, I don't remember when, he told me that they were putting the house up. I don't know if it was they were putting it up on Monday, like the day they went missing, or if it was that they were calling the realtor to verify some stuff so they could put it up that week. Like, I don't quite remember. I just remember, like, the house was supposed to be, like, on the market, like, that week.
Did he name a realtor ever?
Yeah, he did, and I don't remember her name. It was a female.
Okay.
And I don't remember her name, like,
That's
at all.
fine.
I was trying to think of that for you guys not too long
Is that
ago.
the company? Do you got the company name?
No, he never gave me that. He, like, gave me her name, and it was the same name twice. He gave it to me once when he was in North Carolina, and then once the other time. Because I remember asking, I was like, who's that? Because he's like, I'm going to have her call so-and-so today and make sure everything's still good to go. And I was like, who's that? He's like, the realtor. It's like, oh. Or not today, but, like,
If it ever comes to
Monday.
your mind, just
Yeah, I
give me a
doubt
voice
it. That
when
was
you
such
call.
a...
Yeah.
I will try. I don't
lots of
remember
names.
what it was.
It's fine. It's not that critical. That person may come forward to us anyways, perhaps. So don't worry about it. Let's go back to the phone calls on Monday afternoon.
Yeah, so he's, like, texting me a lot of this information, and I'm starting to kind of freak out. And it's not like I'm freaked out like, oh, she got murdered. I mean, that is not what I thought. It's like, okay, like, the way I looked at this, like, apparently his wife had been gone since midday, is when she got, like, reported missing. I didn't know that. Like, the way I looked at this, it was, I got home from work just now. I mean, he didn't say that, but I interpreted, I just got home from work. And my family is not here. So when we're texting for, like, a few hours, like, the cop thing was kind of weird. But he's like, Nikki insisted they call the cops. Nikki insisted they call the cops. And I'm like, okay, you know, and I'm just trying to figure out, well, like, what role does this woman play in this situation? Like, is she...
Did you know who she was?
No, I don't know any of his people. Like, this has been pretty, like, tight wrap for a while, which is probably a really good thing. But anyways, I didn't know, like, who she was. And so, like, I started asking him. I was like, well, where do you think your wife is at? And he's like, I think she'll be back tonight. Like, I think she's, like, out with somebody. And he was telling me that they had a disagreement. So I was like, well, I remember telling him, I was like, you should make sure that you have wait a minute. No. So all that happened, and then it starts getting kind of laid out. And I remember we talked for text for a while, and part of this conversation, and then it moved to the phone. And I remember telling him, because he was like, I think she'll just be back tomorrow. I think she's just going to be gone for the night, like, with a friend, you know? And
Did he name the friend?
No, he didn't. And, like, and because I don't think, he made it sound like he didn't know, like, what friend's house she would be at. And I remember talking to him, and I was like, well, maybe it's that Nikki girl. And he's like, well, Nikki called the cops, so why would she be at Nikki's house? I'm like, I don't know, kind of throws her off the trail of where she's at, you know? And it's like, it sounds kind of weird, but it's like, he really made this sound like this woman was just, like, upset, left the house, and that was probably what he thought happened to her. And so I didn't really put too much, like...
Did he tell you the kids were missing as well?
Yes,
with her?
I knew.
Okay.
I mean, which made sense to me, because I was like, well, if you were at work all day... I mean, he didn't tell me he got home early. He didn't say that to me. So, I mean, it made sense. Like, if she's going to leave, there, you should probably go with her. And so, I don't know. I feel like I wish I should have, like, processed all of this earlier, but I just don't feel like when one of my friends is gone, I'm like, oh my God, they got murdered. We should address this. Like, I haven't heard from them in 4 hours.
It's not a typical thought when somebody just checks out for a day.
No. So it got late at night, and, like, I remember telling him, I was like, he's like, I think she'll be back tomorrow. And he was going to go into work, and I told him not to. I was like, you need to stay home, and you need to help the cops. I'm like, and you need to wait for her to come back. And he's like telling me, like, well, what if, like, she comes back and she sees my truck? And I was like, you know what I would do? I was like, I would ask one of your good friends who's off of work tomorrow to come over this house and hang out with you while you're here. I was like, and go park your truck down the street. I was like, so if she's upset at you and she wants to come back, I was like, but she doesn't want to be here if you're here, maybe. I was like, if she comes back, I was like, and she doesn't see your truck, maybe she'd be more willing to come in the house. I'm like, you know, I'm like, but don't be alone with her. I was like, because if she's upset enough to leave, I was like, you don't know what kind of confrontation you're going to have when you get back in the house. And I was like, so that's why you should have a friend there so that you're not alone with her. And I was like, and if for some reason you are alone with her, I told him, I was like, I really thought she just left. I did. I was like, get your phone, put it on video, and put it in your pocket. And I was like, and just zip it up. And he's like, why? And I told him, I was like, because you can voice record. I was like, so if she comes home, I was like, and you two are still, like, you know, if there's some choice words being said, because you guys obviously got into, like, something that's, you know, early
Did he
in the
ever
morning.
articulate what their argument was
He did,
about?
and I will get there. But, you know, I told him, like, just be prepared. You know, because at this point, like, it wasn't like I was, like, trying to make her to be a bad person. It was just like, I didn't know what was going on. I assumed that she had left, so I was like, well, when you get back, because I knew that they were going through a divorce, it was like, just cover your bases, you know, try not to be alone. And if you are, just record what you guys are talking about, so, like, at the end of the day, like, nothing bad happens to you, you know? And, like, that was kind of how I processed that whole situation. And so, he was like, all right. And then, she didn't come home that night. That was Monday night, right? Yes.
We're talking about Monday.
Monday night, yes. And he told me this is what he told me they talked about, and I realized that this is like total bullshit, and I think he's telling you guys a different story. And I think the reason that he's telling me what he's telling, I think the story he's telling you is probably slightly more accurate than the one he told me on this case, and the reason is because I think he was trying to save his ass with the fact that she's pregnant. So he told me that she had asked him to wake her up before he left for work on Monday morning. And so I don't know if she did that on a text or how it was supposedly communicated. But he said that he went to get her up, which I also found weird because, like, she's still sleeping when he leaves because she gets up with the kids, and they get up shortly after that, but, like, it's just him in the mornings, you know. And so he said that she woke up and those two kind of just like got in a disagreement, and I don't know what all was said, but he was like, she was being pretty mean, and then he said, she told me that she's pregnant, and she told me that the kid is not mine. That is what he told me.
So she's pregnant, the kid's not mine.
And that she's...
Like he's playing, he didn't know she was pregnant
Yep.
until that morning.
Yep.
And that it's not, she had an affair with somebody else.
Yes, and this is before I knew she was 15 weeks pregnant.
Okay.
Like, all the stuff on Monday that I read from my recollection, because I didn't find out she was pregnant until Tuesday. So anything that got posted on Monday did not emphasize the fact that she, like, had a baby on board. So then...
Let me ask you something. You said that he usually gets up in the morning and just, it's him and she gets up and takes care of the kids. Is that the routine that you know for them? Or do you know him to get up and like prepare meals prior to him leaving the home?
Well, he gets up and he like goes to the gym and he works out in his basement and like makes breakfast, and I don't know.
Does he make breakfast for himself or does he make breakfast for his children?
I don't know. I don't know. They're still sleeping at that point. Like, all I know is he, at one point in some time in this whole thing, he told me that they usually get up at like 6:30, and she gets him ready and takes him to school and like does all the morning stuff with them, as far as I know. And then in the afternoons when he gets home from work, he kind of does more of the afternoon stuff.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a tag team.